There's a plan being put together right now by the global elite to bring the world under control and direct almost every area of your life, including your business, your education, your family, your money, and more. Now, everything you know is about to change, and the world we are going into is not the one that we're leaving behind. Now, I'm going to explain what's happening, what to expect, and most importantly, what we need to be doing to protect ourselves. Hey everyone, Mark here. Now today I am talking about the, really not so secret, but still relatively unknown agenda to take over the world. Now it sounds pretty hyped up, but when I explain what's happening, you're going to understand. Now you might have recently heard people talking about quotes like, it's time to reevaluate the global economic order. And maybe you've also heard like, never let a crisis go to waste. Well, those quotes are coming together and there is a plan and it is happening really, really fast. Now, I've been watching this happen for decades, but it's coming together at a speed that I never imagined, and I'm imagining that it's also catching you off guard as well. So what does it all mean? Well, in order to understand what it all means, then, and more importantly, not just what's happening, but where is it going, then in order to understand that, we really have to go back to the beginning. So in order to do that, we're going to jump back in time all the way back to 1944. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you might know what that date means. 1944, I've referenced it many times, and that is the time of the Bretton Woods Agreement. Yes, the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And so that's where basically the world got together and formed this Bretton Woods Agreement. And basically that is when the world went onto this gold standard. So the United States said, we will hold all the world's gold for them, and then we will back the US dollar to gold. And then all the countries of the world will now peg their currencies to the dollar. And so everything will be pegged to the dollar, everything's backed by, and then everything's backed by gold. But what's more important about this is not the fact of going into the gold standard. That's not really what we're talking about today. What's more important about this is it really was the first time that the whole world got together and agreed on something. All right. And that is the big piece that we're going to focus on today. It's not about gold today. It's not about the dollar. It's not about fiat. Well, it is about that too. So the world came together. All the countries of the world came together and decided to do this, and they created something called the IMF. That's the International Monetary Fund. And so basically all the countries of the world, the elite who are running these things, and really it was just a handful of bankers in a room. And so they came together and decided they were going to coordinate this, and each country, based on their economic output, their GDP, they would have to contribute money to the IMF, this new IMF that was created. Now, fast forwarding through time, the world seemed to be kind of coordinated together, but of course the US could not restrain themselves. They had to continue to print more and more money. Of course, why wouldn't they want to? It's kind of human nature. And so the rest of the world knew that they were doing this. The rest of the world knew that the US was printing more dollars than the gold that they had backed up. And so the world started saying, hey, we don't trust you anymore. Give us our gold. And fast forwarding all the way to 1971, President Richard Nixon said, enough. We are done with this. We are off the gold standard. And at that point, everything fell apart. So from 1971 forward, the world has been moving away from each other. So in 1944, they came together. They kind of stayed together, but started falling apart. In 1971, officially, the world broke apart. And since 1971, the world has, the independent countries have been working, of course, independently. Now, since that time, we have started to see accelerated calls for countries asking to remove the dollar as the world reserve standard. So we've seen China, of course, calling for the end of the dollar. I made a video, I think it was about a year ago. You can see it here. The Bank of England, Mark Carney, got in front of the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. It's the central bank of central banks. And he got up and stood in front of him and said, we have to end the world reserve currency of the dollar. So people have been calling it for a long time. But like I said, since that agreement ended in 1971, we've seen countries all working independently. All right, we haven't seen that coordination. And even just a year or two ago, I was making comments in regards to cryptocurrencies, and I said that the world can't seem to agree or coordinate on anything. How would they ever agree and coordinate to crack down on cryptocurrencies? That was just a year or two ago I was thinking that. But now look what happened. We have a pandemic happen worldwide, and boom, all of a sudden the whole world is coordinated. Every single government is working in coordination with each other almost overnight. It's been amazing to see this happen. I couldn't have imagined this a year or two ago. And now what we're starting to see are calls for the Great Reset. All right, now you might have heard of that. You maybe haven't. This video isn't really going to dive into the Great Reset specifically, but we are going to talk about that. But of course, you can go do more research or leave me a comment if you want me to talk about the Great Reset in more detail. But basically, we have the World Economic Forum, the UN, United Nations, the IMF, International Monetary Fund. These are all organizations that control the world. World Economic Forum, UN, IMF, etc. And there's other globalist elites like the McKinsey consultants, etc. And they're all calling for this Great Reset. Well, now, just over the last couple of days, we've seen the IMF. Again, the IMF, which was created out of Bretton Woods, that is like the World Bank, basically. And the managing director, Kristalina Georgieva, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Kristalina Georgieva, she has now come out and said we need a new Bretton Woods agreement. A Bretton Woods 2 is what she's calling for. Now, what does that mean? Is she asking the world to go back onto the gold standard? I mean, that would be pretty good if it was, right? But that's not what's happening, all right? So in order to understand what it means, what I want to do is I want to look at what they said. So what did they say? And then we can try to interpret that. So like I said, first of all, it is not going back to a new gold standard. If that was the case, I would be cheering for that. We'd be hearing a lot more about that. But we know back last year, July of last year, 2019, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, he outright said, no, we will not be going back to a new gold standard. So he said that last year. He already told us that's not happening. He said that a gold standard would force the Federal Reserve to stabilize the dollar price of gold. Oh no, that sounds horrible. But of course they don't want to do that because they want to be able to create as many dollars as they can. So he said that it would force them to stabilize the dollar price to gold. Yes, of course, that's what it means, but he doesn't want to do that. The IMF managing director said that the pandemic will shrink the world's economy by 4% this year and remove $11 trillion of economic output by next year. Of course it will, right? The entire world coordinated together to shut the whole world economy down at the same time simultaneously. And because of that, no crops are growing, no manufacturing is being done, no mining is being done, no travel is being done. Because of that, $11 trillion of economic output was gone. It was forced to be gone. It was taken out. Now, she continued to go on and said, quote, once again, we face two massive tasks: to fight the crisis today and build a better tomorrow. So see what I'm talking about? Never let a crisis go to waste. So she says, hey, we have to fight this crisis today, but we're going to use this as a way to build a better tomorrow. Now, that sounds great. I mean, sure, we all want a better tomorrow, don't we? I mean, it sounds nice and warm and fuzzy, but what do they really want? All right? What do they really want? Well, they want more control. Right? They want more control. They want the countries to bow down to them. It's not enough just to control the one country. They want to go back to the days of the Bretton Woods Agreement where a couple guys in a room basically could control the entire world. That's broken apart, and they need to get that control back together. And how are they going to do it? Let me explain. So what they're doing is they forced the world's economies to shut down. Therefore, they've lost $11 trillion as per the IMF is what they said. Now what they're doing is they're calling for expansions of loans by the IMF to poorer countries. So the countries that can't afford to lose that money, they're going bankrupt. They're dying over there. So the IMF will, hey, no worries, we'll loan you some money. Oh, you're going broke too? How about you get some money? Oh, you need money? Okay, how about I loan you money? Now, in the Bible, it says that the borrower is servant to the lender. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're lending out money and putting people in under servitude. And by loaning them money, by bailing them out, they can increase their influence and control over them. She said, quote, the fund is providing debt relief to its poorest members. And with the World Bank, we support extension by the G20 of the Debt Service Suspension Initiative. The Debt Services Suspension Initiative. Think about that. So they will take away their economic growth. They will then force them to take their debt, and then they'll offer them this debt suspension. Do you think that has a couple strings with it? What do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know. But these loans are going to play an essential role in giving the IMF a leg up in the coming rush of central bank digital currency, CBDCs. Now, I've been talking about this quite a bit. We have China rolled out their own CBDC just a couple weeks ago. We have, I believe that the United States is rushing to get theirs out probably sometime next year, and lots of other countries are also working on the same. I'm not going to go through a full list of that right now, but what's happening is these countries are still sovereign, and now they're creating their own currencies. But the IMF doesn't like that. The IMF doesn't want all these countries out there to have all their own currencies. They want all of them to come back under the fold like Bretton Woods. Remember, they're talking about Bretton Woods 2. Bretton Woods 1 was where the whole world was using the dollar that was backed by gold. They don't want all these countries to have all these independent currencies. They want them all to come back under. And so, again, this will give the IMF a leg up in the coming rush of central bank digital currencies, about which the IMF, along with the G20, the World Bank, and the Bank of International Settlements, released a report last week to formalize for use in the banking system. So the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of all central banks, the World Bank, the IMF, the G20, the top 20 countries, they've all come together and they've put this report, they formalized this in a report of putting their CBDCs out there before all these other countries do that. So if they can crush the global economies and then extend the much needed credit to them, then they can control their money and not let them get out ahead of their own digital currencies, right? But it doesn't just stop there. Bretton Woods stopped there, okay? Bretton Woods was about the money, but not this. This is Bretton Woods 2. It's going to be bigger and better, so it doesn't stop with the money. It's not just the financial control they want. It's not just your government or your own personal finances they want to control. They want to control everything. They want to control your health. They want to control your business. So consider Georgieva's inclusion of COVID-19 in the same sentence with climate change. So just as the pandemic has shown that we can no longer ignore health precautions, she said, we can no longer afford to ignore climate change. That's their third imperative. So they're putting it together now. So now COVID, our health, and climate change is all together. And now that's the IMF's third imperative. So not just the money. No. Now we have to focus on your health. Now we have to focus on the economy. And they put all this, is really explained in a report titled, quote, Avoiding a Climate Lockdown. And it was put together by University College London economics professor and United Nations European government advisor, Mariana, I forget her last name, but inside they warned us, and I'll quote, protecting civilization's future will require dramatic interventions. Avoiding this scenario will require a green economic transformation and thus a radical overhaul of the corporate governance, finance, policy, and energy systems. Wow. Let me just cover that again. So a radical overhaul of corporate governance, so the way you run your business, finance, all your money, policies, so the education that you learn, how you treat and train your people, and energy systems, so the entire energy system from oil to electricity, renewables, etc. That's a lot. They want to take over a lot, don't they? So now that we understand the history, what they did, what they're trying to do now, where does all this lead? All right. This is not a bunch of random circumstances. This is a playbook that's been playing out. And so because we know that it's a playbook, we can see where it leads. Now you can already see from the quotes and the statements made by the leading globalists concerning the Great Reset. And it shows that we are not looking at just changing from one currency to another. All right. What we're trying to do, or I should say what they're trying to do, is transform our entire existence. Now, per the General Secretary of the International Trade Union Confederation, Sharon Burrow, she said, I'm quoting, but above all, the long-term perspective is about rebalancing economies. Or put another way, we need a form of socialism. So they want to get all the economies rebalanced where basically everybody puts their money in the pot and then they divide it all back out, which is, yes, again, socialism. Now, if this all sounds scary, it is. It is very scary. It's very scary. It's something that you should definitely be paying attention to. It's definitely something that you should be concerned about. But what are we going to do about this? All right. What am I going to do about this? What should you be doing about this? So let me give you a couple points. The first thing that you should be doing is, one, you need to be paying attention. Now, if this is all news to you, then you're not paying attention enough. Of course, you're watching this channel, so I'm trying to fill you in. So we need to be paying attention. We need to be knowing what's going on. We need to see as these walls are starting to close in on us, and we have to also understand where the lifeboats are. All right. Where do we get out? How do we protect ourselves? And so that's what I am 100% focused on for me, myself, my family. And I'm sharing all that information back with you. So we need to pay attention, and we need to know where the walls are closing in and where those lifeboats are going to be. We need to stay educated. So we need to, like I said, continue to pay attention, watch these videos, read reports, etc. And then we need to be putting our money into real hard assets. So they're basically creating more fake money. No, they're not going back to the Bretton Woods Agreement of going back to a hard, sound money system of gold. No. They are moving forward into more debt-based money, central bank digital currencies, capturing the economy. And so for us, we need to get out of that fake counterfeit money system that continues to lose value and put our money into real hard assets. Of course, land, real estate, commodities, gold, copper, silver, things like that. I always invest for cash flow. Everyone should be investing for cash flow and things like that. We also want to focus on getting our wealth outside of the financial system. So again, gold is a way to do that. Bitcoin is a way to do that, and things like that. That is the lifeboat that we have right now. Don't get stuck in their system. We need to start moving outside the system, which is what I talk about all the time. Now, again, this video is not to scare you, although it is scary, but hopefully you understand the walls are starting to close in and you need to be paying attention. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you need me to dig in more to this? Do you want me to explain more of these concepts? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from each one of you. Otherwise, give me a thumbs up on this video if you like it. And if you don't like the video, that's okay. Give me a thumbs down. But again, leave me a comment and let me know why. And that's all I got for you today. All right, to your success. I'm out. Now, just a last minute reminder, I am hosting a special live presentation. It's happening tonight. You can find the link down in the description. We are going to talk about all this that's happening and the wealth transfer that's creating and talking about real solutions that you can do. So again, it's a live presentation and I would hope to see you there. Click on the link down below.